We're living longer lives, but with more years in poor health than at any point in history. How can we change this? And what are the pharma industry's responsibilities and opportunities? These questions and many more will we, MSD, try to answer together with people of different perspectives. By creating a space for dialogue, we hope to promote diversity of opinions and provide food for thoughts. We call it Voices of Pharma.
Welcome to Voices of Pharma. My name is Umair and I'm from MSD, and today we're going to talk about partnerships in the healthcare ecosystem. And with us today we have Thomas from SINTEF. Welcome, Thomas.
Thank you, Umair. Thank you very much.
How about you start with introducing yourself?
Sure, happy to. My name is Thomas Langø. Been working with medical technology since '96 approximately. So I'm a researcher, a chief scientist of medical technology at SINTEF. SINTEF is a research organization, biggest one in Scandinavia actually. And SINTEF has a vision, technology for a better society, which fits nicely with what I'm trying to do in medtech. We're trying to make tools and solutions better for clinicians and patients.
Thank you, Thomas. Before we deep dive into the topic, if we just take a step back and look at the healthcare system that we are a part of today. Luckily, we live in a part of the world which is where we have one of the best healthcare systems. We have access to highly educated healthcare professionals. We have strong institutions. We have universal healthcare coverage. On the other hand, we also are facing a significant amount of challenges. We have rising healthcare costs, which is not sustainable in the long run. We have a growing burden of disease. We have many inefficiencies in parts of the system, and we have, rising expectations in terms of from the patients and the users and the consumers of the systems. And in this context, many of the key stakeholders are looking, of the healthcare systems, are looking towards partnerships as one of the solutions to these challenges. So my question is, why are partnerships more important than ever?
Well, partnerships, I believe that cross-discipline partnerships has been a key element for my work since I began. I'm engineering world from originally, and I was approached by a neurosurgeon to start a collaboration in making ultrasound navigation for neurosurgery. But the key element here is that a clinician and a technologist collaborated, and our groups started collaborating. Luckily, we're co-located geographically, so it was easy. But we saw that after only a few years that we had a unique position internationally because we were able to work so closely, the two disciplines together. And by bringing in other stakeholders as well, like industry, we saw that we could add another dimension to the collaboration. We could do even more exciting things. We could bring things that were solutions that the doctors needed. We could bring them into the market, enabling more patients to have a benefit from these solutions. Because if you stay in the research world and you do only research, that may be fun and good, but if you want more patients to benefit from it, you have to make it a product. Exactly. You have to make it a business solution. Exactly. Otherwise it will stay locally. So partnering with industry was a natural step, and then of course this has grown, and now we have these networks and infrastructures that collaborate, and the more complex the regulatory work becomes, the more disciplines you need into the loop. Exactly. Like legal, regulatory, all those things. Exactly. So it becomes a need and a must to collaborate across disciplines, I think. Well, several things. One obvious thing you have to consider in these cross-disciplinary partnerships is that there has to be something in it for all. So there has to be a good motivation and incentive for everybody to participate. What usually happens is that when you have a clinical challenge, that has to be the core of it. You have a clinical or health challenge, and you're looking for a solution, and you're looking for improving things and better patient treatment. That has to be the core. And the second thing you discover pretty early on is that you need enthusiastic clinical experts on the team. And then you need to come together, and then you need to look for solutions and iterative innovation is the key element here. And it's complex, yes, because if you look at only the regulatory part, it's really complex and it's really time consuming and resource consuming. But if you start with a clinical challenge and you from early on consider the later processes and bring in the right people early on, you have a much better chance of succeeding in the end. And of course, if you in addition at that early stage think about cost benefit after a while, you need to consider that when we're trying not to develop things that will only add cost to the healthcare system, but we're trying to do smarter things. We're trying to do things that they do today smarter with less resources, bring in digital technology, for instance, smart monitoring of patients, not having them to have to travel to the hospital for a small measurement that you can do at home. All these kind of things. Less and less invasive surgery is a key element in my research. Diagnostics, simpler diagnostics earlier. And of course, we should also talk about, or mention at least, predictive medicine and preventive medicine. That's also, of course, big things to come in the near future. We need to keep more people away from the healthcare system.
Exactly.
Keep them out of the healthcare system as long as possible, and enable them to live longer, better lives at home or outside.
Yeah. One of the prerequisites for succeeding with a partnership approach is then having an environment where the different partners trust each other.
Yeah.
And coming from big pharma to a lab in the university or SINTEF, whatever, different environments, different cultures, and so on. And how challenging is that, or like how aware do you need to be about the cultural differences and the different ways of working when entering into a partnership?
Yeah, you have to be aware of it, and you have to provide the proper frames for it to work. And one thing is like having a collaborative agreement. We always try to establish that early on, even before we have funding or before we do anything. Non-disclosure if necessary, agreement signed, no problem. And the good thing about having, the healthcare sector, SINTEF, and industry is that the main success factor for a project is that the industry succeeds. Maybe even can hire more people, new products, better products. Because SINTEF is a not commercial partner. It's a not-for-profit research institute, and the healthcare sector just needs better solutions and better technology, better solutions for patients, and better tools for clinicians. So I think it's a win-win for everybody. As I said before, if there is something in it for all, it's much easier to collaborate. Then everybody feels more safe also. If you have competitors together in the project, things become more complicated, of course.
Exactly. Do you have any specific examples that you could share with us? Where
too many.
Too many. Yeah.
No, but I can since we're talking, I can mention one good example. The Nordic countries would be easy to collaborate. We have similar healthcare systems. We have similar infrastructures, similar cultures, so it's easy. But we also do a lot of EU projects and international collaboration with the US. We have some with Japan. Bringing in these cultures and different way of thinking in the healthcare system is also really interesting because it brings new perspectives into things. In Norway, we just established something called NORD-Trials. So NORD-Trials is a committed partnership between industry and healthcare sector.
Okay.
So the thing is that NORD-Trials are trying now, as a national network, NORD-Trials is trying to bring bigger and more clinical studies to Norway. So basically providing Norway as a test bed for pharma and medtech industry. And this will definitely bring up a much, I would say, bigger studies and better studies with more patients. So you're basically providing the access to clinical trials for more patients.
Exactly.
And Denmark has something similar called Trial Nation. Sweden is looking to establish something similar. We had meetings with both Sweden and Denmark.
Okay.
So this NORD-Trials could be the start of something Nordic that looks really interesting, I think.
Exactly.
And European level, of course, EU projects, research and innovation projects in Europe, that's something we have to do as researchers in Norway.
What do big pharma as which have existed for hundreds of years, for example, like what do they specifically bring to the table? What can they bring to the table in going into such partnerships?
A lot, actually. Big pharma companies have a big experience in running big studies, international studies, multi-center studies, randomized control studies, and they have they have all the regulations and all the systems in place, and they've been doing this, as you say, for many, many years. In medtech, it's much more diverse and much more, I'm talking about startup companies. They have no experience in running a clinical studies, so you have to help them from the start and all the way through. There's a lot of elements to take care of. Exactly. Pharma knows this by heart, and they have done it so many times. So having pharma in the loop on projects is a really benefit for the researchers and for the startup companies. Exactly. They get access to that experience and that knowledge and competence and everything. So it's really valuable.
What are the implications for pharma companies that are reluctant to partner with the broader healthcare ecosystem?
I think maybe one of the things that would happen is that they would miss out on some, let's call it disruptive changes, because let's face it, the small medtech companies are very often highly innovative. That's why the big medtech corporations are very often paying attention to what's happening with small startups that do new things outside maybe or inside their domains, but in new ways. They pay very close attention. And by partnering, you also get the chance to develop your own products in collaboration with new devices that maybe have a profound benefit for your drugs, let's say pharma. So as we mentioned, combinatory devices is one thing, but also using in combination. The example we talked about before actually was how to increase immune therapy effect by using ultrasound. Ultrasound as a non-ionizing radiation, very safe imaging way of imaging in the body, but you can also use it to increase the efficiency of drug delivery locally by mild heating or pressure, or by using the ultrasound to basically make the vessels more leaky. So if you have drugs present locally, they will leak out into the tissue and have better effect. So these kind of things will be happening much more and in a much better way if we partner between pharma and medtech devices, I think. It's
so that's one way of accelerating the innovation is by being open for sharing knowledge and experience and whatever tools, capabilities you have, and then combine that with or bring that into a partnership with others. And I guess the common denominator for the medtech companies and the pharma companies and so on is still going to be especially in the Nordics and Baltics countries, is still going to be the core delivery system, such as the healthcare system, such as the hospitals and the clinics and so on, that are actually treating the patients.
I think also by partnering we can actually help, let's say, tearing down a few of the barriers that are there. Because let's face it, in healthcare there are a lot of barriers to innovation. You have, the zero tolerance for failure. You have organization, which is complex. You have, you name it. So by partnering up, we can become much stronger, and maybe the healthcare sector sees that, oh wow, we have a huge partner here. We have a cross-disciplinary partnership that can help us solve some challenges in a totally different and much stronger way than collaborating with 100 or 10 partners on different subtopics. Instead, we get this big collaboration that comes in together.
Exactly. Thank you, Thomas.
Pleasure.